What is up, everybody? They finally added the new event dungeon a couple of days ago, and just now really getting a chance to go through it. We've made it up to stage 25 with just auto and not really paying any attention to anything. But once we got to stage 27, I kind of got a little bit stuck. So we're going to actually go through and put a team together. Also, we have some shards to pull, and we're going to try to get some live arenas knocked out while we're at it. But first things first, let's see what the event dungeon shredder actually does. His A1 is a triple hitter. Second and third hit ignores 5 and 10% of the target's defense and deals 10 and 20% more crit damage. His A2 attacks all enemies, destroys enemies' defense by 5% up to 30, and also increases his max HP up to 30. Each hit also has a 75% chance of placing leech, and it cannot be resisted if the boss is under a veil. This is true ninjutsu, attacks all enemies, steals all buffs from a single target before attacking, and it cannot be resisted if he's under a veil or perfect veil. Then fills the turn meter by 15% for each buff stolen, ignores 15% of each target's defense as well as shield and block damage. If they're under a veil, it will ignore 30% instead. Passively decrease all incoming damage by 30%, and it is split equally amongst the allies. Increase the champion's dealt by 50% for each dead ally. So he gets stronger for the allies killed. So it would almost be better if we could just like stun the allies and keep them alive. Whenever he loses 20% of his max HP, he has a guaranteed chance to evade, and that evade will also put a perfect veil on that champion, and has a 50-50 chance of putting true fear on all enemies that cannot be resisted. So it's similar to a Loki if Loki put out fear. Immune to all CCs, and enfeeble and berserk, which most bosses are. Burn only does 1% of the boss's max HP. Oh, he's immune to decreased speed. Well, that's saddening. Decrease the damage inflicted by the boss for each awakening level, increase damage. So we definitely want highly awakened champions. Seeing what kind of teams they're using. Seeing a lot of Teoxes. Let's put in Siegfried. Let's throw in Fabian for buff removal. Let's see. Throw in Lydia just to have defense down and all that. And yeah, let's put Lazarius in for block buffs. That Chris has a lot of resistance. Does it make sense to just attack the boss and ignore the minions if possible? Damn, they healed though. I think we might need to bring in an all-out reviver. Damn. Yeah. I wish we had Pythion. How much accuracy does Fabian have? Where's my 5-star Fabian? Is he in the ball? Oh, there he is. Yeah, he could use some more accuracy. I don't know if we can clip any more onto him or not. Let's see. Barrel. Do we got anything better? I don't know, because these all have speed rolls. Not really looking like it. Oh, yeah, if we have a barrel accuracy banner, that would be great. I don't see any barrel gear. Oh, Fabian has it all. It says we can get accuracy, though. Oh, yeah, we got it on the first one. Give him 29 more points of accuracy. What's up with all the low glyphs on here? I don't know if we want to use Fabian, Armand's, or Thor, or Odin, sorry. I don't know, let's look at what Feral has on. We might run him in as well. He can bring the increased accuracy. Yeah, let's bring in Feral. Anybody else on the teams of the week we might want to use? Surprised that dude's using a Quintus. Where's Dracomorph at? Okay. Let's see how this works. Weaken everybody. Oh, they resisted most of it. I mainly just want to get this Pythion killed. Ah, I didn't bring a revolver though. I wonder how running a demon spawn team would do. We have Cometus and Vulcanus. Prince Kymar, he can strip. So can Commodus, Cometus. I'm looking for more too. See if we can land any bombs. Damn, he hits hard though. Let's listen to a video about it.
Prioritize his AoE.
So the very first thing that I will touch on with the event dungeon is if you were on a relatively early game account and you can farm up to like stage 16 in the event dungeon, then that's good enough. Don't feel bad about only being able to farm stage 16. It can still drop 6-star gear, and the energy cost for farming stage 16 is not that bad at only 14 energy. It's relatively efficient, right? The very first team we're going to cover in this video though can farm all of the above all the way down to stage 20 without too much trouble at all, and it's basically going to have the same ingredients that you're going to be using in stage 16, and it is not this team right here. There it is. And in fact, I'm even going to go as far as to weaken this team a little bit by just completely removing the Thorlin and see if we can just do it 4-man. Before we get into all of the key ingredients that you need to progress in the event dungeon depending on what stage you're on, if you're looking to start off a new raid Shadow Legends account, then do it right now while Michelangelo is the free login reward legendary champion. And as part of a triple legendary start, man, click on the beginner promo link that is down below this video and use that link down below to create a new raid account to get your hands on Basilius Ryanus as your free starter legendary champ, as well as a few free epic champions as you level up your account. Use beginner promo code Demon Slayer on your new account as well to get Thorlin Foulbeard on day 1, and then of course you'll grab Michelangelo as the days tick by. Just log into the game for 7 days, man. It's the best possible time to create a new raid account in 2025. Okay, what tools are you looking to bring into stage 20 and below inside of the event dungeon? But to be honest, in all stages, these tools are going to be very, very good. Tool number 1, okay, I'm going to say 10-meter booster. 10-meter booster can mean increased speed aura, right? Like Haikatoon brings a 90% speed aura in all battles, right? She also brings increased speed buff and 10-meter fill. I'm just going to throw all of these into the same box of just 10-meter booster, a champion that makes sure that your champions go first in the fight, right? 10-meter booster, decreased defense on an AoE, and a block buffs champion. That's it. The AoE nukers are kind of obvious, right? Bring along AoE damage so you can kill the boss's minions. I'm not even going to mention those as part of the tools. That much should be kind of obvious, right? Those are the 3 tools that are going to get you through these earlier stages, right? When it comes to block buffs champions, doesn't get much better than Ugo. Ugo brings decreased defense and block buffs on an AoE, so Ugo already checks 2 of those boxes right away, and the Haikatoon again kind of speaks for itself. Why is it so important to bring along a block buffs champion? Because the Shredder boss itself brings an attack all enemies on his A3, and before attacking he steals all buffs from a single target enemy. This can be a bloody problem, especially if he's stealing things like increased speed buffs, increased attack buffs, God forbid like increased defense buffs and stuff like that, which you might need to bring along a little bit later. And so having a way to ensure that he's not actually going to steal those buffs and get to use those buffs against you is quite important, and that's why a champ like Ugo is so crucial. So let's just see how we do. It just turns out that my nukers on this team are bloody strong. Ooh, not quite enough damage to get everything dead. Okay, fine. I'm gonna have to run 3 nukers here. It was a worthwhile experiment. These are like empowered champions and stuff, so I was kind of wondering, do they have what it takes to just like 4-man this? But just to sort of push this team over the edge, fine, we throw the kill in here. Now again, I just want to mention these are like awakened and empowered and stuff epic champion nukers that we're running in this team. Again, if you could run a team that looks a bit like this and only farm stage 16 because your champs and your gear on your account aren't that amazing.
Well, we got
looks like this. The biome. You can see that this team is looking a lot more advanced already. Again, things get steeply more difficult as you go up in difficulty stages in the event dungeon. Now, the extra tools that we're bringing to the table, right? All of the same rules still apply, right? 10-meter booster, decreased defense on an AoE, a block buffs champion. All of those same rules still apply. The extra tools you want to bring along are going to be the likes of weaken debuff, if you can. Otherwise, you're just going to lack the damage to kill all enemies. And increased defense buff. At least one champion that's bringing a strong increased defense buff on your team. It's going to be quite crucial as well. For me, that's the Glycad, right? Glycad is bringing along an increased defense here, as well as some extra 10-meter boost on his A2 as well. Yeah, he's just bringing some extra defensive capability for the team. Otherwise, the Shredder's going to do ungodly damage. And just overall, the quality of damage deal has gone up by quite a bit as well, right? So we're running the Lydia on the team for the weakened debuff as well. We're actually running the Packmaster as the aura lead, and we're throwing in Crocad Throat Ripper as well. And so this is what this team now operates like and what it looks like, right? So yeah, decreased defense, we can go on in from the Lydia. We get some 10-meter boost there from the Glycat, as well as the increased defense buff. Then we get the big old block buffs from the Packmaster and the stupid AoE damage from our two boys. They kill everything, and this time when the Shredder attacks on in, because we have increased defense, he's not going to hit us for like 60 billion anymore. You know, we're actually like pretty tanky now. Even Crocat, who's the weakest champion on the team in terms of defensive stats, he's okay. He doesn't drop below half health, and yeah, we're good. So it's just an evolution and a steroidization of the first team that we covered, with like 1 or 2 extra tools worked on in there. Now, what about the stages after this, right? Once you go to like stage 26, 27, the team on the enemy side changes again, okay? You know what? Let's just run this team into it again and see how it does, right? See what the problems are, so we can actually like see them in real time, right? First of all, whenever we attack on into the Krisk on the enemy team, as you can see, the Krisk on his passive skill automatically places decreased defense debuff and tries to place decreased attack debuff on your champions, right? So as our guys attack on in, especially like our damage dealers and our nukers, who also now don't have enough damage to kill the enemy anymore, it's automatically placing a decreased defense debuff on our Thorlin and on our Packmaster, and that's not the only problem. Look at my team's buffs just now, especially the Thorlins, right? He doesn't have many protected buffs on him right now. Yeah, well,
here.
keep an eye on that.
Feral, I do believe,
Gone.
have built-in protection.
And dead.
Same with our bias,
Okay.
so.
Basically, the Jing 1 and the Krisk are big bloody problems in this team. They completely change the formula that you're trying to build here. Except not really. It just means you gotta bring, again, 1 or 2 extra tools to the fight to deal with these two suckers. And so things take another step up in terms of the tools that you need to bring, right? Again, it just gets steeper and steeper, and it happens fast, right? So stage 27, what new tools do you want to bring along? Just to really shine a spotlight on this, the Krisk, again, it's his passive. That places a decreased defense debuff, which is devastating because the Shredder is going to one-shot you. You know, if you get decreased defense up, it's really bad. The chances that you're just going to die horribly to a single AoE are very high. Also places a decreased attack on that passive, and there's like almost nothing you can do about it. And then the Jing 1 is the next biggest problem for me, at least. Why? He cannot be hard crowd controlled by anything, actually, apart from like polymorph. Very hard to control the Jing 1, and he's the fastest champion on the enemy team, so he attacks in first, and he attacks in with this A3, which has a 100% chance of removing all buffs from your guys, right? Which is why my Thorlin got one-shotted as soon as the Jing 1 moved. He just stripped the decreased defense, he stripped our increased defense buffs, and we already had decreased defense up on our Thorlin from the Krisk, and so the Jing 1 just one-shots
So yeah, you definitely
somebody
want
on the...
protection
Someone's gonna die, you know what I mean? Things go bad real quick. What does that mean? What does all of this culminate to? Well, as well as all of the tools that we've already covered, right? They're going to be on screen right now. The 10-meter boost, the decreased defense, all of that kind of stuff. The weakens, you know, if you can bring those. As well as all of those tools, you want to also try and bring along a block debuffs buffer champion on your team, right? Somebody who can protect you against the Krisk placing the decreased defense. So a block debuffs champ, as well as a block active skills champion. For me, a block active skills champion is like the key ingredient for making sure that the Jing 1, if he doesn't die in the initial nuke, at least can't use this gosh darn A3 that's just going to strip all of your buffs and ruin your day. In order of how hard they are to get, Vlad the Nightborn is a bloody good champion for this kind of stage. He places decreased defense and the block active skills debuff, right, as well as pumping a good amount of damage. He'd be a very good option to bring along. A little bit easier to get is going to be Corrado Fox Hunter. Corrado's time to shine, boys. He brings attack all enemies, does pretty reasonable damage, and also places block active skills debuff for 2 turns. This could easily be one of your nuker options that you bring to the table, who's also fulfilling the role of the block active skills guy. However, the champion that I'm going to be using in this team is going to be none other than an epic champion by the name of Ethelyn the Golden. This guy right here, man, self-buffs with increased crit damage and increased accuracy, which is great because it means that you don't have to build quite as much accuracy on the guy. You need like, what, 350, 400 accuracy or something by this stage, and so having this is very nice. And also then attacks all enemies 2 times, placing block active skills on the first hit. very, very nice champion for this job. And so this is what the new and updated team is going to look like. Yes, we're running a mythical champion as the aura lead in this one for a 25% speed aura. Theodosia is also going to be placing block buffs and decreased defense. That's going to be her job on the team. And you're going to be relying on the weakened debuff coming in from the Estrid Dream Song. She's the fastest champion on my team. She's going to be the 10-meter booster, just making sure I go first because the enemies are so bloody fast in these lower stages. I feel like I need this. She also does bring weaken as well, so I'm still bringing decreased defense and weaken to the table. But you can see things get very, very advanced in terms of what tools you're trying to bring here, right? The Thorlin's going to stick around as one of our nukers. The Ethelyn we've already touched on. And the Freya Fate Weaver is going to be bringing along a block debuffs buff and debuff removal, as well as some 10-meter fill. So she's going to be like going second roughly on this team and protecting us from that decreased defense skill. She also brings an increased defense buff and shields on her A2 as well, but frankly, I just have to sort of brute force a little bit with this current team setup, and just the boss is going to get its first attack off before I can get up the increased defense buff. So that just is what it is. She places a big shield. As long as my guys don't die against the first AoE hit from the boss, then this team does seem to work out. I tell you what, I'm also going to boost up the Ethelyn's gear by quite a bit because frankly he deserves it. I do have a build planned out for him. This is the gear build that I've been running to clear the stage up until now. It's not that remarkable, really. 270% crit damage, about 200 speed, 320, 330 accuracy. You know, it's fine, it's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and just recommit some of my Athorian's gear onto the Ethelyn just now, and we'll just take it from there. I guess we're gonna severely boost up his accuracy. His speed's about the same. His crit damage and attack stats though are gonna go up by quite a bit, and so I'm just gonna shift up his gear build a little bit, and let's just see if I can just kill the first wave of enemies right away before they get to do anything. But even if the Jing 1 survives, he's not gonna get to buff strip against us, which is the most important thing, you know. But yeah, as you're gonna see just here, the Ethelyn can hit bloody hard as well. I've not actually tested him in this build before ever, by the way. Oh, he's gonna kill everything, no problem. No problem, right? Yeah, big damage. Okay, but we do get up the block active skills still against the Ragash, and my team just about survives the first hit coming in from the boss, and that's all we've got to do. Now, ideally, I could try and tweak this team in such a way that we get the Glycad back in the team, maybe, and get like the increased defense buff up sooner, so that we just definitely don't die to the first AoE hit from the boss, because that was a little bit close. But yeah, you can see how we're just evolving the team and bringing in these new tools to the fight to deal with the boss's minions as they change. Now for stage 25 and beyond. Sorry, stage 28 and beyond. For which I'm not that proud of myself, because it's a little bit of a cheese team, I'm not gonna lie, man. It would be bloody helpful if I had like a Marius or something on this account, and just more of like the... Well, yeah, it would just help if I had a Marius, okay? I don't have a Marius. What I do have is a crazy amount of survival and control in this team. We no longer need the block active skills that much, by the way. I feel like the real challenge with this team is the Tetsuya. So the Tetsuya gets a 10-meter boost every time an enemy champion takes a turn, and so he's going to be jumping in like crazy, which is bloody annoying, to say the least. He does pretty solid damage as well if you let him. And so the team that I've built right here just uses a bunch of mythicals and a crap load of wave control and survival tools, increased defense, strength and buffs. The Fabian is just a crowd control fiend against this team. The entire point of the team is just to live, right? You can actually crowd control these enemies quite effectively as well. So the Fabian in this team, for just controlling the enemy waves and just keeping them all from really doing anything useful, with the True Fears and the Petrifies and the like the Fabian A3, all of those things seems to be pretty good. Seems to be pretty until he dies. And so we just run it again, and hopefully this time the Fabian does actually land the increased cooldown on the Tetsuya, because the problem is that the Fabian's weak affinity into the Tetsuya, which is like the most important champion for him to control, really. So now we shouldn't have a problem at all, right? The entire enemy team can only use their A1 skills. They're getting petrified, they're getting true feared, they're gonna get provoked every now and again from the Freya, and my team's just so bloody stupidly tanky that the boss can't ever kill me. That's it. That's the team. It takes a long time to get the kill with this team. And it's not reliable, because if the Fabian fails to land any of his control against the Tetsuya, the run goes bad very, very quickly, which sucks a lot. But they go Tetsuya dead. We do just kill off the ads though, one at a time. And any time they do get to use one of the A1 skills, the Fabian counterattacks in with his A2 and petrifies them. So like the entire wave of enemies, the only threat is the Tetsuya. You know what I'm saying? So I could probably find a better option, to be honest, to deal with him as well. And if I can, then we're good. Like this enemy team can't do anything to me. Oh my god, boys, we've only gone and done it, man. We've only gone and done it. I think this is the ultimate cheese team. I'm not even proud of this, man. I just feel filthy, dude. We switched in the Wixwell, and we switched out the Theodosia for the Lazarius. So mythical for a mythical. Yeah. So this is the updated team. It's basically set up now so that the Wixwell opens with this A1, and because the Tetsuya is the only Magic Affinity team on the enemy team, he actually just guarantees that the Wixwell is always going to attack him because the Wixwell's Force Affinity. So the Wixwell opens with Provoke and then prioritizes using his AoE decrease attack, which is useless against the boss because all of the boss's skills are HP based. They all scale off of the boss's HP. But the Tetsuya, this seems to keep him nicely under control so that even if the Fabian doesn't land his A3 and he weak hits too much against the Tetsuya and fails to control him, we still have enough to survive. I'm going to try this into stage 29 now, where I'm a bit less confident it's going to work, man, but let's give it a try. It's a really cheesy strategy after all, and so let's just see how it does, man. Let's just see how it does. So the open is all the same from the Estrid. We actually do land the increased cooldown on the Tetsuya here straight away from the Fabian. And either way, though, we'd have the Wixwell follow in with the A1 and just guarantee that the Tetsuya isn't going to do anything nasty to us. We're getting the block debuffs buff from the Lazarius now instead of the Freya. And so let's see how we do. The boss's big AoE hit doesn't do that much to us, but here comes the Tetsuya's next attack. He gets in his attack just after the Wixwell gets up the decrease attack debuff as well. So let's see how much damage he does now. Oh, never mind. We land a sleep against him. The Estrid coming in clutch. It's just such a cheesy team, dude. All we're doing is trying to live. You know what I'm saying? Tetsuya might get to attack now. I want to see how much damage he gets done.
Man,
Nope, he misses his turn again because of the true fear. Oh my god, dude. It's so ridiculous, dude. It's actually so ridiculous. Okay. Yeah. This is the team that I've got for farming the harder stages. It takes like 10 minutes for us to get the kill, but you know, it seems to do.
Okay, so we definitely want to bring in Feral.
You can earn a bronze trophy called Fall of the Foot Clan for defeating the 5.
Hello and welcome everyone again into another video. In this video I will show 4 different teams to defeat stage 30 event dungeon. A team that is whale friendly, a team that is fusions and guaranteed champions, and a team that can use champion that is free for everyone and you can literally get it from Doom Tower, and a team that can solo event dungeon. So let's go ahead. So this is the team I used in the previous event dungeon, so let's just go. I don't mind wasting some energy. So some stuff you need to be aware of. This dungeon is supposed to be the hardest and the most challenging content in the entire game. That's number 1. Number 2, it's supposed to be challenging even for end game with some +4 mythicals. So if you are new to the game, I don't think that you need to farm stage 30 because it's just so intense of a battle. I will give you an example. Like, look, enemy max HP can't exceed 5% of the boss's HP, which means even if you have something like Marius, at max, at best, he will do 15% of the boss's damage. That's number one. Real quick, guys, get yourself a free legendary Narma by clicking the link in my description. You will also get 3 amazing epics, Anax, Ugo, and Mazel Mage. All you need to do is, number 1, log out of Play and Play on your PC and uninstall it. Number 2, click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Number 3, launch raid and complete the tutorial. Number 4, go to your inbox and claim the champion. So don't miss out on the great chance to get Narma and 3 very strong epics. So make sure to click my link before it expires.
Why would he pick champion, dude? She's not that good. Like, not at all good.
Number 2, we have the faction unity champion. You know what this faction unity champion does? Every time someone take a turn before him, he will boost his turn meter to take a turn as soon as possible, and he will put trophy and decrease your turn meter fast. So if you don't have a fast gear, if you don't have a way to control this guy right here, you're gonna end up losing the fight. That's number 1. There is also Harima, which means your ignored defense will be mitigated by 50%. There is also Kyoko. Whenever a crit is applied, she will put increased defense on everyone. So the boss is set in a way that it's completely difficult to do, and one of the best way to control this boss is a relic called Stormcaller. You could try other type of CC like Freeze. I think Freeze is actually one of the best, so Yukarl is going to be the best CC champion here. But the problem is, it's just gonna take too long because Freeze make you do less damage, and also it's gonna take a while, so you need to be fine that your run will take 3-4 minutes as an example. So this is the team I was using. Forget about everything. This team is basically those 4 champions trying to set up Seer to nuke everyone, and then I have Euros to solo. That's how I used to do the previous event dungeon. Let's just go and show you. So you see, he got turn meter, he boosted everyone's turn meter. That's Galate's A3, and then he immediately boosted his turn meter to take a turn right away. And someone has this one. You know what this does? Basically, this awakening, it will decrease your turn meter by the number of buffs. So if you have 10 buffs, it will decrease your turn meter by 15%. So that's why Marius is good here. Now, if you can see, like, I have Stormcaller, the relic, and now you can see that he will stun everyone because that's how Storm relic works. And you see, like, that was supposed to be a hard hitting ability. And look at everyone's health. It's not that big of a loss of health, right? Like, you won't believe that this is actually a Marius nuke. And then Seer go, and my Seer is some of the world's strongest. My Seer has like 420 crit damage. She's +3 and she's good. Now, like, Galate is gonna switch. Like, all of this I'm trying to do. Like, yeah, look at now. You see what I'm talking about? Yeah, he's killing everyone. That's how his passive. And now you have Kyoko. I have Harima. And now we're just trying to do our best in staying alive. But can we stay alive? Like, here's the thing. If I don't kill anyone here, if I don't kill them, the run will fail. Marius stayed alive. So now, in the previous one, the goal was simply to keep Euros alive, and Euros with golden elixir, that will keep him up all the time. But Galatir stayed alive. Okay, next run I will just show it without Galatir, because, you know, not everyone has this champion. And the goal is, I mean, technically, because the previous one was a mythical, so she had way more crazy mechanics. So this is not the team, by the way. I'm just trying to explain and show you how the fight will work. So having Marius is going to be a good idea just to counter this relic right here. No, sorry, Awakening, because every time he drops your turn meter, Marius will use his A1, and look at that big of a hit. You can see that Euros' health is always full, which means Euros can solo, okay? Okay, Galatir, I freaking love you. Okay, this week. So this was just a showcase of how to beat the dungeon, I believe. Now, next run, I will remove Galatir, and then just to see if Euros can do it or not. But yeah, you can see that Marius did around 3.5 million damage, Seer did 2.5 million, the boss is around 4 million. So technically the extra 1 million is on the mobs. So now with this run, I'm gonna use Noelle. Noelle is a fusion. We need, for the event dungeon, you need 520 accuracy. So that's like the thing you need to be aware of. So she's gonna start with her A3. And now the goal is, yeah, you can see that Seer didn't even do any damage. It's just a very intense of a battle. As long as I get to kill the mobs, Euros can do it. So the goal is to get Euros to be able to do that. But can he do it? I mean, you can say that Euros's health is not going down, which is good. And there is no cleanser champion here, which is also good, which means these poisons at one point will be able to put him low. And you can see like the golden elixir is just keeping him up. Like, look, he took a hit, he's still not 50. When he get to 50%, he was able to survive. And now he's just gonna stay there. So I'm just gonna wait until the end of the fight and show to you that he can actually do it. Okay, we just cleaned the wave, and the secret was to not use Noel's A3 right away. By the way, if you don't have Noel, you can use Yukarl. Yukarl also can't be resisted, so he's technically better when it comes to freeze. But what she can do is basically she can revive as well. Do we care to revive? I don't think so, to be honest, because all you care about is Euros. But I have Marius, and Marius can make it way faster, so that's like another reason why Marius is good here. So I think Noel can just cheese this boss, especially if you have like a 5-star on her, because remember, like, this is why it's a very end game content, because you need your champions to be at least 5 stars awakened. I mean, my Euros is not 5, I think he's 4-star, so that's why sometimes he take too much damage. But yeah, decrease the damage inflicted by bosses for each awakening level on the target champion. 2.5 level 1 and 2, 5% level 3 to 6, stacks up to 25%, and this 25% is a lot, by the way. So that means it will like, look at the boss, he's literally killing himself. Yeah, and that was a 146. I think that's a good time. So let's just show you again how to do it. Okay, so first, Marius go nuke. Now if you don't have Stormcaller on Marius, you freeze everyone here with Noel. Okay, so I did not freeze because I have Stormcaller, right? Now using Padraig, you don't need Padraig. I've just used Padraig because he's a guaranteed champion. You can use any champion that put buffs. I'm literally using Padraig because he has this 25 speed aura. This guy here is literally just to put more buffs and speed up the fight, but that doesn't mean you need him. Any champion you use with Seer, like if you use Sifi, if you use Lydia, you could totally use Lydia. Lydia is actually fine. Lydia actually is good because she can also bring decreased defense and weaken. And yeah, like you can see, Euros is not going down any health. It's actually way easier than the last one. The problem with last one is like the boss was just getting insane amount of turn meter. And yeah, Noel, all you need is a Noel and the Euros and a Marius. Okay, and everyone should have those 3: Noel, Marius, and Euros. Now what you need is not just those, you need those to be 6-star. If you don't have them 6-star, I don't know what to tell you. You could use Geo instead of Euros, by the way. It's totally fine. Yeah, you don't need you don't worry about that. And that's how you beat the boss. Now let's just go and do a team with food. So let's go to stage 20. Okay, let's use more energy. So guys, please, if you appreciate the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So I like this champion, but I'm using solo. I mean, it's solo. I think Marius can do it himself, but I like to use this guy, Ishiyama, because I have a 5-star soul on him. Let's see if we can do it. I used to use him to solo stage 20 event.
So he's not really telling anything.
Unbelievably crazy week on Kick. I was just talking about the French streamer Jean Parmenov, who passed away in his sleep on stream after a marathon of abuse from some other streamers. And just now, I literally just finished streaming Resident Evil 6, and I was taking a little tinkle, and I got sent a little something that is so diabolical, I had to hop back in the saddle and yap about it. It is incomprehensible that yet another potential death was just streamed on Kick. I'm recording this an hour after it happened, and the victim is currently still in the ICU, so I guess by the time I post this, I'll know whether or not they passed away, but I'm going to keep this part in here right now because it's up in the air. A Kick streamer, Raja Jackson, who is the son of Rampage Jackson, and also a professional fighter, just went fucking ballistic on a wrestler during a wrestling event on stream. He picks the wrestler up, slams him on the mat, and then lays down 27 punches to the man's skull, most of which were delivered while he was unconscious. And by the end of it, he is bleeding and bloodied. They couldn't wake him up. They said he was barely breathing, and someone even used the word flatlined, that he was flatlined in the ring. This is not fake. This is not scripted. I did my best to censor this. It is brutal. It is extremely hard to watch.
Fuck?
I also cut the clip short, but they pan back and he is covered in blood. Raja Jackson is a professional fighter who has unloaded, I counted 27 blows to an unconscious man. And they all are connecting. This is not like fake. It's not like he's pulling any of his punches. They are all hitting squarely on this man's skull, bouncing his head off of the mat. And I said most of them were when he was unconscious. All of them are while he's unconscious. When I watched it back, it's clear that when he slammed him on the mat, his head hit the mat and it knocked him out immediately. So all 27, potentially more, punches that he threw were on an unconscious man. That can be fatal. That is most oftentimes fatal. And he wasn't done either. It's not like he just stopped and said, okay, well, that's plenty. I've had my fill. He was still going. The only reason there weren't more punches thrown by him is because the other wrestlers were able to separate him. But he was fighting against them to go back and keep beating this unconscious man. He probably wouldn't have stopped punching him until his head popped like a balloon. It's extremely scary, and even if he does pull through, this could have life-changing repercussions with brain damage and so many other complications for the rest of his life, if he even survives, which we don't know yet. He apparently flatlined in the ring and is currently still in the ICU, and we don't have any updates. This is terrifying stuff. Hello, it's Charles, first thing in the morning here, and we don't have a ton of official updates on the condition of that wrestler, but the father of Raja Jackson, Rampage Jackson, gave an update where he is saying that Psycho Stu, that's the name of the wrestler, is alive and is stable. And he also says that he's clearing up misinformation about his son. But then in his statement, he doesn't clear up any misinformation. He just confirms what everyone already knows, that this was completely out of control, inexcusable behavior that Rampage Jackson also doesn't condone. So I don't know what misinformation he thinks he's clearing up with this. He's just agreeing with what everyone else is saying, that his son went fucking berserk. I guess maybe the misinformation demon that he was exercising here was about his son actually getting like the permission for payback on Psycho Stu for an earlier confrontation. And what he's referring to there is they had like a little beef before the event started, and someone had told Raja Jackson that he could like double leg take down Psycho Stu in the ring and then throw like a fake punch, and that would be it, to like settle the beef and create like this storyline. But Raja Jackson on stream, on camera, says that he is going to hurt Psycho Stu. He said he will not stop punching him until people will yank him off of him. So he took that like pseudo invite, like green light to be involved in the wrestling event, as a permission slip to go brutally assault this man and beat him within an inch of his life. Like, I think you could also make a case that this is attempted murder. This was premeditated assault that he planned on not stopping at any point.
Yeah, dude, that is fucked up. You can't just run into the arena randomly, pick some dude up, and when they're knocked out, they're supposed to be like common courtesy where the fight ends. Even if he threw one or two after the fact, just because he didn't realize it, you know, you could make a case for that. But yeah, he was attempting to end that dude. $100%.
Until third parties intervened. Like, I really think you could make like a real argument that he had went in there with the full intentions of killing Psycho Stu. That's what it looks like to me.
Tell you guys this, they told me to hit him and just leave. Somebody who pulled me off of him will leave. I'm telling you. I'm gonna hit him as many times as I can. Watch.
That's indefensible. You can see him literally planning it off the back of them giving him like the instructions for a work where he'd come in and he'd deliver like a hit, like a fake hit, and then he'd be pulled
That wasn't fake.
off and that'd be the end of it. And he is saying, but watch this, I'm going to keep punching him. Like, he is blatantly stating this. It is very clearly a premeditated assault. And like I said, I really think his goal was to kill Psycho Stu there. It really seems like that was his mission. And you can't chalk this up to confusion where he was directed to do something but then just went a little far, like, mistakenly. He is, with his own voice, his own vocal folds flapping with their own volition here. He is stating, they told me to do this, but instead, I'm going to do this. I'm going to punch him as many times as I possibly can. He is stating clearly that they told him one thing, and he is not doing that. Instead, he is going to punch the shit out of him, beat him within an inch of his life. You can't possibly say that he just got confused with the stage directions here of the storyline. He is saying that he is going to go punch him as many times as possible and disregard what they said he is permitted to do, like what they planned on. It is premeditated assault by every possible definition. Now, what started all of this, and I've seen people joking about it like, oh, haha, Raja Jackson must not know that wrestling is fake, and he thought the heel was being mean to his favorite babyface, so he took matters into his own hands, tee-hee-hee. But what actually happened is Raja Jackson was touring the event and meeting the wrestlers backstage, and of course the wrestlers are all playing characters, and when it comes to wrestling, there's a little something called kayfabe. And so they are going to portray their character to the best of their ability and keep everything as authentic and genuine as possible. And Psycho Stu was in character and misunderstood that Raja Jackson was not a worker in the event.
Worry about him. You need to be worried about Psycho Stu.
Psycho Stu?
What, you don't know me?
Hell no. Yeah.
Hey, I think that's a little.
Oh, you don't sell it?
Easy. He's not a fucking worker, bro. Calm down.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
You're good.
What the fuck was that?
You don't sell it?
Dude, he's not a fucking
Bro.
worker, bro.
What the fuck was that? Hold on. I don't play that shit, bro.
Oh, sorry.
Nah, I will fuck him
we're
up,
good.
bro.
I know
No,
you will.
no.
We're good.
And he takes it way too far when he takes a beer can. I don't know if it's like a real beer can or like one of those breakaway like stunt
It seemed like a really petty reason for beef.
ones, but he takes it and he crushes it on Raja Jackson's head. Then you can see him get really fired up about it, and all the other wrestlers are also saying to Psycho Stu, like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? He's not like a worker here or anything. That was too far. And that's what started this. And then Raja Jackson waited until their match. Then he stormed in and then beat him potentially to death for it. Now, I think if Raja Jackson had swung on Psycho Stu after the beer can thing, you could definitely make a strong case that he was acting in self-defense. Because that is unexpected, it was unprovoked, and it was kind of a crazy thing for Psycho Stu to do, not knowing for sure if Raja Jackson was a worker in the event or not. It was a bad judgment call for sure from Stu. And he was just like way too fucking committed to being the heel. Like he was really deep into his method acting like fucking Shia LaBeouf style, and he did the beer can thing, and it was definitely over the line. But here's something a lot of people aren't showing enough of, that Psycho Stu was very apologetic when he learned that Raja Jackson was not a worker at the event. He apologized 3 times. They shook hands multiple times, and Raja said, like, hey, it's good, I get it. Multiple times. Meanwhile, he was just, like, bubbling with anger, waiting for his chance to fucking assault this man.
Fucking seal that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, bro. Hey, it's gonna all work out.
Yeah, hello. I appreciate it.
I didn't know. I thought you were a
Well, if he's the son of Rampage Jackson, he's just looking for an excuse to either make a name for himself or outdo his father.
We're gonna work it out. Well, he's gonna come out on your mat, Juice. I know you keep thinking we're working. We're always working.
I get it. Yeah. I get it now. Now you
know what I'm saying? We're always working.
What a fucking worm. This is some slimy behavior here. This is some turbo ass. Raja Jackson is now pretending that he understands and forgives Psycho Stu, who is very apologetic, mind you, and he's explaining, like, look, I saw the cameras, I thought that this was like another work, that we were building a storyline, this and that, and Raja Jackson's like, no, I get it, and he's like shaking his hand and everything. Meanwhile, he is actively planning of assaulting this man, beating him unconscious and fucking leaving him eating meals through a straw, as he is like pretending to let bygones be bygones here and that they're on good terms. That's fucking unhinged. Now, before showing you some more of the aftermath here, let me introduce you to Psycho Stu. I think you should get a little bit of the lore behind this wrestler that Raja Jackson beat so severely, hospitalizing in the ICU, and apparently caused to flatline in the ring.
Pro in 2009. I had just got out of the military, probably about 6 months earlier. I got out of the military, I joined Knox Pro, because I needed something to focus on. I needed something to help me adjust back into civilian life. A lot of veterans, it's hard for them to readjust into civilian life coming from the life of the military. I'm an American soldier that suffers from PTSD. Being in front of a crowd, it doesn't give me as much anxiety and aggression as I thought it would.
Yeah. Psycho Stu is a veteran who was suffering from PTSD and found wrestling as a means of escapism and fell in love with the sport. And now is currently hospitalized in the ICU, but apparently is stable, so hopefully Rampage Jackson is accurate with that claim that he is alive and stable. That would be wonderful news. But what an unbelievable set of circumstances that led to his hospitalization here. Yes, he made a mistake with Rampage Jackson's son here, not knowing whether or not he was a worker and still building the storyline anyway under the impression he was. But it's not a mistake that should have led to something like this, especially when he did everything in his power to try and rectify it and try and apologize for his mistake and explain why it happened and ensure that it was totally unintentional and there wasn't meant to be any bad blood or anything. And he thought that he did accomplish that, but clearly Raja Jackson didn't actually think so. He was just acting. Raja Jackson was flexing his thespian skills here when he was pretending that everything was okay between those two, because what he was actually doing was plotting a premeditated assault on Psycho Stu. Again, that potential argument of self-defense, that has poofed away like Timmy Turner's fairy godparents. That ship sailed a long time ago because he didn't act in response to the threat. Like, after the beer can was crushed on his head, which, again, he wasn't expecting, and that can be dangerous, but he didn't, act in the heat of the moment to defend himself from that or anything. Instead, he let it marinate, let his rage bubble up, and then waited for his opportunity to get revenge later. There is no longer
What's going on, everybody? Blazin here. Welcome back to another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today I am excited because this is actually the first one-on-one collab that I am actually doing with this person, and I'm really excited about it. I gotta introduce him, as always, the Dab Master, Zero Brew. What is going on, Zero? How you doing, bro?
Blazing! It's been way too long. We should have done this way sooner, and I know we've had it on the schedule to do it a lot sooner, but we are here, ready to do it great, and I'm excited. I'm very glad to be on, so thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you for coming on, man. Yeah, we've been, I think back and forth, we've been talking for like months now, like, oh yeah, we gotta do it, and it's like, time just sucks, work full-time, being parents.
Parents, full-time, we do the podcast on Sundays, which, by the way, repping the Knights of Teleria shirt.
I see.
That's what's up. Yeah, and I have a little Zero Brew crew, a little dabble do you in the back.
Let's go.
Fantastic job.
Thank you. So I want to talk to you today about the real cost of the free permanent gear removal, right? Now, I do want everybody out there to understand, I am not saying by any means necessary that they need to revert it back or anything. I love that it's in there, but there's going to be a bigger cost to it. And, you know, I know we talked about this a little bit briefly earlier today, just kind of discussing a general how we're going to work with this. But I want people to understand Plurium didn't do this without having some sort of repercussion for it, right? Now, we all know that as endgame players, I mean, one of your major purchases is always what? Either energy or shards, right?
Or gems. Like, I buy the monthly gem pack minimally, right? And those get converted into silver or energy for silver, right? So
here's the thing. Here's what I see happening. Because we're no longer, you know, essentially really needing to buy the energy, and I know some people will say, well, we still need to farm gear, we still need to do this. That is true as you move on to the end game, but once you get to the end game, we have pretty developed accounts because we've been playing for so long that without the gear removal cost, we can essentially just be really, really picky about what gear we keep. And especially because dungeons now don't really give us a lot of good gear, other than maybe speed or savage. You know,
I'm pretty happy about it. It means that we can finally mule our gear around without breaking the bank in the process.
Really farming anything else. You know, now we got the event dungeon on, and the gear set itself I think is kind of crap. But Pinpoint, when it comes out, it's definitely helpful. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, we're not going to be buying these energy packs anymore, right? Do you foresee yourself buying any energy packs going down, you know, after the discussion that
Yeah, definitely. For dungeon diver events, stuff like that.
we had?
yeah, so I'm gonna be 100% honest here. And maybe I don't grind as much, but I've never really bought them. Now I have early on, so I would say 3 years ago, maybe I bought some energy packs or something like that. I'm a bit of a hoarder, so I kind of just min max my energy, make sure it's constantly regenerating, right? But I don't necessarily buy these types of energy packs. I will buy the gem packs as we discussed and convert those to energy should I need to, right? And so, and again, this is, and I'll also say, just caveat on some of these topics, right? This is all speculation, right? We have no clue, but I do think it's important to realize, if even if we haven't seen it yet, and obviously the changes went in like what 12 hours ago, so we worked our day jobs, so we haven't really gotten to see the kind of the impact. We're probably not going to know the full impact for another several weeks, but there's a lot of changes that come with this. And I know we'll get into some of those topics, right? But this impacts Live Arena. This is going to impact, being able to swap out gear. This is actually going to, why give us new gear slots? Because we can sell all those crappy gear pieces that we hold on to just in case we need to build that stone set, set for whatever. Now, accessories are still going to make us do it by the faction or whatnot. But we might not need to hold on to all that epic stone skin just because we need to build out a 4-piece set in the future. So a lot of changes coming with this.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So your initial question, yeah, I'm not buying these. Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, if you weren't already, I mean, I will buy them for CVC. I will do it for, running my what's it called here? Team.
I just don't really agree with what they're talking about right now.
Shogun, Sand Devils. And, that's ideally now going forward, I think that's where most of my energy is going to go, because I don't need the silver to be able to run these dungeons, or I don't need the energy to be able to run these dungeons, because I can pretty much do every fusion with the energy that is provided to me, right? So I think people are going to start realizing real quick that we're going to have another stage of monetization. And that actually kind of scares me more, because, well, they may not, and I know some people, I think we were talking right before recording about the new EU law that came into place, where it kind of restricts everything, and maybe we'll have a discussion on that in a further date. But it restricts like the pop-up filter or the pop-up options of like the limited time deals, right? Those deals that come up and say you have to purchase them now. But I feel like the way
I literally got one of those for energy this morning. Like, what?
This is going to go is we're going to start seeing a lot of these events, because the shards are the number one thing they monetize. I could see them coming up with the soulstone events that we do, you know, closer to the points that maybe a ancient shard gives you for a soul chase or a summon rest. You know, we'll be getting 10 points per, maybe 20. You know, like 150 points for an immortal, 500 for an eternal soulstone, and that kind of scares me. Do you think that's a possibility that could happen?
Yeah, I think, I hope not. Lord, I hope not. And I think I will say, and of course we have the Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtle situation going on right now, and we do have an opportunity to get all these different champions and stuff. And I will say, through all the most recent ones that we've had a card flip event, and sometimes that card flip event does go off of the soul stones, right? So if they do decide to nerf the points needed to flip all the cards or whatnot, that's going to be really tough. And just off the top of my head, Freya comes to mind, is one I got. I got the I call them Diablo for this most recent one, the Demons Awakens.
Yeah, Chaos
one.
Awakens.
I think he was, Chaos Awakens. But the Demon Spawn Diablo looking dude, I think, was the card flip one as well. So yeah, and that's going to be tough. Yeah, that's going to be tough. $10 for 15 little ones. I'm just looking at the little ones here. $10 for the little ones. And if those give you anywhere from 80 to 90, I think for Freya it was worth 60 points. And they do fluctuate how many points they give us. But yeah, if they drop us down to 20 or 40, that's going to be
give us 100 points. And Freya was the first time that they nerfed it, I believe, was 80 points. But again, my worry is, and maybe some endgame players out there will let us know, are you going to be buying energy packs? Because I don't foresee it. Like we said, I could be super strict with my gear. We have already the gear set filters, right? The global presets. So I've got like almost, all of my arena champions set up. Yeah, I could set up another, 10 more of like a backup set. But I could essentially, and I did it on a couple of my alt accounts, I went through and I sold a lot of gear on them because I'm like, you know what? I can just move the gear over. It's not going to cost me the 1,600 or the 1.6 million silver to move the gear around. And that is a big cost, right? Like, I'm sure Plarium was not, they gave us the, 2 weeks back in January. And I'm sure they were kind of testing it, and they were like, maybe not. And they got some real big pushback from a lot of the content creators. And I remember, I think it was Ash, if I'm not mistaken, that said on one of their last meetings, they're not looking into totally removing that, but they're going to mitigate it by giving us that. And then very, very quickly, it seems within like a month, that flipped. So, something's had to change, right?
Yeah, and I want to go back to something you said. If you pull up your champion screen too, so something you said, and by the way, I have not been buying those energy packs, but something you said, pull up the gear filters too, just kind of where you have the where you can swap the fitting room or whatever you swap out. Yeah, the global presets. Thank you. Because I'm going to make a point on that. But something you said. So first of all, I'm in a new clan, and so maybe this new clan's going to be more competitive. I'll find out next week when we get into the partial CVC, because I haven't gone through that process yet. So that's a great point. You talked about running Shoguns, Phantom Shoguns, and of course Sand Devils. And then the other thing that just blew my mind thinking about it, and especially looking at this, I already had it on my mind before seeing this, but this visualizes what I was thinking about is, again, if you don't need that much gear on your account to max out to all your different champions, and you can start using these global presets like this, yeah, you're gonna just make the 10 or 20 best sets that you want to be able to run, and all your energy that goes into Shoguns and all that, because you're right, we're not gonna need to farm for speed gear or savage gear and all that, because we have really good sets. So we're not gonna really need to farm the other dungeons unless they make us with dungeon divers for a champ chase or something like that, right? So all that energy is going to go into getting the pots, and then once you blast these things out and they're all purple, like, you're just going to make your top tier gear that much better, and all the energy is going to go into Shoguns and Sand Devils. So that is a huge game mechanic, and that's probably why, going back to your original point, why they were so hesitant to do this, because this fundamentally changes how we play the game. I mean, honestly, right?
Right. So, you know, you were mentioning that you foresee a big issue with Arena, and I agree with you. I think Live Arena is definitely going to change, because we're no longer having to, you know, keep that gear set on our Sulfurion that we're using for Hydra or this or that. So I guess, what is your biggest worry on the Arena aspect, or in general, with this free gear removal that we're permanently getting?
Yeah, so I'll say this when it comes to Live Arena. So we've had, what, 4 seasons now? 4 or 5 seasons of Live Arena? Okay. So, and they did, for the last 2, change the scoring mechanics as well. And so I feel like I'm getting a lot harder fights. And I feel like, now this could be a me issue. And it's because I haven't cared so much about gear either. But I do need to put my best gear on my best champions and see if that makes a difference and I get a higher percentage rate. But these last couple Live Arena seasons, to get the 13-20 points you need for those mythical relic shards, and by the way, I've yet to pull a mythical. I know you've got several of them on your account, but I've yet to pull a mythical. And so I'm like, is that even worth it? That one once a month or whatever it is, once every 6 weeks. And the answer is yeah. I mean, having that 20% chance to get a relic, mythical relic, is really good for the account, but I'm not getting it. And so I created a term while you were coming up with this question. It's going to be the Fabian effect. Ooh. I feel like Live Arena. So like, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I can improve my gear, I can do all this, but guess what? Everybody in the game can do this. And where I'm at in Live Arena, if those people that were smoking me were already here and they do it, and hey, I move up to match what they were doing.
I'll be right back. I gotta grab
I'm now hurting because everybody's gonna do it. And I call it the Fabian effect because everybody got a chance to get Fabian, and Fabian for a minute there was the meta champion to take. And like, I would first pick him just to prevent someone else from first picking him, and vice versa. So I feel like Live Arena is going to change forever, and that Fabian effect is going to be there. Everybody's going to be doing this with their gear, and that bar is just going to get raised higher, and it's going to make it harder, in my opinion. I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that?
So, I mean, Fabian by far is my favorite champion. I want to say he's probably got like the best gear on my account, just because he's just that good. But you're right. A lot of us are going to be doing the same thing now, right? Again, if this removing the gear cost makes global presets or even champion presets even more valuable, right? So we don't have to worry about it. It's simple. Okay, guys, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to push Live Arena. I'm going to swap over, my 10 champions that I'm using for Live Arena, put them in the best builds that I have since I've already made them, and boom. Is it going to be good or bad? I mean, it's good for the player base because silver for a lot of people, especially if they're free to play, is a problem. But I actually have a big question for you. So you said you're sitting on almost 1 billion silver. Yeah. Where do you foresee yourself spending any of that now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess at this point, like, it's just rolling out the gear. I don't know where all that silver is going to be spent. So it's going to be interesting to see if Plarium will change the dynamics in the game, right? Yeah, maybe more slots, something like that. Yeah, I don't know, because I never liked having to change out the gear. And I will say, like, I know this is kind of, hey, this is coming from a worse of note, like, hey, let's try to predict what they may or may not do, speculate what they may or may not do that's going to negatively impact us. But I will say, on the positive side of the house, like, it gives us the opportunity to build out and experiment with more champions. Now, we're not going to get the books to book them out and all that, but being able to freely, like, just looking at your champion list here, you got a ton out here, right? So being able to swap out the gear and use them for free, I think, was also a hindrance to being able to experiment with different champions. And I don't know about you, but I personally, when I build out a champion, I never book them ever, and I put whatever gear I think is going to go on them, and I try them out. Like, the biggest ones that I stuck with and then actually booked was Hansel and Gretel, for example. So I was like, okay, let's test it out. Let's see if this is going to be viable, if this was going to work, and it ended up working, and I ended up booking them and getting even more damage out of them, right? But then I came to the realization, like, why am I nerfing my Taras, for example, because I was using Stone Skin or Carnage, right? Why am I nerfing my Carnage over Hansel or Gretel? And so, like, Hansel and Gretel kind of got re-geared, and now they got the 6th or 7th best gear, and I'm not going to ever use them in live arena. And that was the eventual answer. But I will say that's one of the positive notes is they're going to give us the ability to experiment more with the champions. So that's a positive, right?
I agree. I think that is, again, there is a lot of positives, right? It's going to save us time, especially because we'll just be able to rebuild, and with the Hell Hades optimizer, just automatically equip it. I do foresee Siege being a problem now, because before you were, you couldn't really build a particular champion to kind of counter what your opponent had, because you were lacking on silver, and was it really worth it to rebuild a whole team with 10 million silver to try to take down one host, right? But now that's no longer a problem. And again, remember guys, we're not trying to say that this was a bad thing, but there are going to be some effects that are going to come in that may start upsetting people a little more, right? So yeah.
Well, like I said, it was a core mechanic in the game, so you ripple effect everything, right?
Right.
Including the freebie things in Sin City. So hopefully they replace that with something like Basalt or something like that. That'd be really cool.
Well, so they've already. So actually, we're recording this at the time of reset, so you can see here if you get some type charms, right?
Okay.
I don't know what it's going to be like for per city. I could probably check on one of the alt accounts and see if they replaced anything there. But yeah, it does mean that we're going to get another reward, right? And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But again, back to my original point, this really worries me on the monetization side, because I don't know what else is going to come in. Yes, there's always the next power creep, there's always the next thing, but you can only get so much good gear, right? At some point, I don't know how much energy you farm with, but I will tell you, out of the 10,000 energy I put into one of the last 3x events, I kept 8 pieces, I rolled them, and out of the 8 pieces, 2 rolled trip and nothing rolled into a quad, and I sold the rest, and we're talking about 10,000 energy. That's crazy. The last dungeon that we did for the event dungeon when Odin was around, I spent 100,000 energy, and I was strict on what I kept for gear, because I just didn't want to keep too much pinpoints. So, I think that that's going to be the big thing here, is where else are we going to see the monetization level up, and what are going to be the side effects from the free gear removal? So I do want to hear from you guys in the comments down below what you think, and where you think the monetization is going to come. If you had to give a guess, Zero, where do you think they're going to switch their monetization from the energy to something else?
Well, what I will say is, I know we have noticed power creep in terms of like dungeon divers and things like that for the fusions, right? So, probably they're going to pivot from monetizing the silver and the gear, right? Because we're going to basically need less gear and less silver for the swaps and stuff. And so I think it's going to pivot towards basically building out those champions and stuff. And again, with the gear removal, it makes it easier to build all those champions. So maybe certain fusions and stuff, they make them just a little bit harder, right? You got to pull 10 more ancient shards than you did last time. You got to pull, you got to run, what's it, 3750? What's Dungeon Divers? Pull that up real fast.
3700.
Yeah, 3700.
Yeah.
For this one. Yeah. So what if that goes up to that 4500 slot, right? And I think it used to be at the 3150, if my memory serves me correctly. It used to be a little bit lower, right?
Yep.
So, and again, they could remove the silver. Remove the silver from this and put the basalt in. That'd be a great upgrade, right?
Yeah.
So I guess if Polarium watches this and is listening to this, I would just say, please remember there are a lot of free-to-play players out there that still play this game, and taking that level up to 37 to 4,500, for example, would be just devastating when they just need those champions to change their accounts. And you know, maybe relook at all the rewards. Take the silver out. Take the we have multi-battles, but if they start replacing the free gear tokens with multi-battles, I'm sitting on like so many multi-battles, and I get it. I play on the PC, I have the luxury of running RSL Helper. I get that, but when I'm on mobile, I still have like 19,000 multi-battles currently. It's a little absurd.
You know, we can't see it yet, but I'm curious to see what the gear enhancement's going to cost us. Are they moving up the barriers for how much is going to be needed, right? Are they going to keep it the same? And again, those are the type of things, guys, that are going to change as a repercussion for the free gear removal. Where we know Larium cares about one thing and one thing most. It's not the game, it's not the player base, it's the money, right? What's going to make
Oh yeah,
money?
and especially with MTG buying them out too, right? So that's, you know, half of their income is now coming from this game. So
right,
yeah, absolutely. And then I had another point, but I forgot it. Go ahead.
Well, I think, you know, we've discussed enough here where, you know, again, it could definitely go either way. They could say, hey, we're not going to do anything. You guys deserve this after 6 years. We'll leave it be. Don't think that's going to be the case. To be quite honest, I think they're going to find something else. Maybe there's going to be something new coming in the near future that is going to require monetization. Maybe they're going to start selling keys for dungeons so that you can run extra or something. I don't really know, but that does have me concerned. Again,
I will say, and the one thing, and I did remember, is at least now with Donatello, and hopefully throughout this event through November, they keep it kind of, they don't add any extra power creep in terms of like inflation, right? So I think let us get these 4 Ninja Turtles, let's get Shredder and April O'Neil, and hopefully maybe they kick that can down the road if they do decide to inflate points, but hopefully not.
Right. Will Zero, hey, thank you so much for coming on, man, and talking with me, having this discussion. I think it you know, I was kind of maybe just worried that it was like, am I just imagining this? Am I going too far? Am I, you know, am I automatically going to the worst things? But it's nice to hear that, you know, maybe I'm not that wrong. Maybe my concerns are seeming legitimate. So,
well, I will say we've all had the track history of them suddenly making changes like that you know, changes the balance of where the status quo of things. Like we already talked about the inflation. I think we talked about the Freya and the soul points and what those are worth. So it's happened to us over and over again. So I would not be surprised if it happens again. But hey, let's hopefully glass half full and we be positive and we don't see these changes for a long time. That's gonna be my hope. But thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, man. Guys, make sure that you follow Zero Brew over on his channel. We are going to be recording a collab on his side, so make sure you check that out. If you like the content and the video, smash that like button up. Consider subscribing to the channel. And if you have some time, join us every Sunday, 2 p.m. EST for the Knights of Teleria podcast, where we dive into the world of Raid Shadow Legends, discussing everything from free-to-play strategies to pay-to-win insight, and covering the journey from early to mid-game. Whether you're a newbie or a seasoned player, we have something for everyone. Don't miss out on the Knights of Teleria podcast, the only podcast for Raid Shadow Legends. All right, I need a shout-out from you, Zero. What you got for me, bro?
So I will say first, you know, obviously shout out to you for having me on, and of course all the Knights of Teleria podcasts, they're amazing. Definitely go check those out. But I have to give a shout out to Ash, because I woke up today and he printed me on Discord and did a little reach out, and maybe a future collab coming with the one and the only Ash in the future. So I'm very excited about that, and that's just what's fresh on my mind. So we got to give Ash the shout out.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Love Ash. Love Ash. Guys, I hope, again, you enjoyed the video. Smash that like button up. And as always, much love, much appreciation. Be safe, be well, be good to each other. Catch you guys next time.
everyone, Nubkex here. Welcome back to Nub Raid. New event dungeon is live. Obviously, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is live. Obviously, I'll do a guide for the event dungeon. That'll probably drop tomorrow because there's so many videos today. By the way, I am fresh out of the shower. I haven't like greased my hair back or anything. It's just wet. But yeah, we're going to be looking at the Fragment event calendar for Donatello. He is the fusion. Now, I haven't done a fusion showcase because I literally got access to the test server, I think, yesterday night. So I haven't had any time to properly test it. But my initial impressions, okay, good. We're finished this run. Yeah, we're doing it on stage 29. Maybe this team just works on stage 30. So I'm still working through it. It's just gone live. But Donatello, I think he's in the Lizards. He is. Oh, Donnie. That's so weird. Yeah, called Donnie here. I think he looks real good, by the way. We're going to look at the calendar in a sec. But yeah, just a generally really solid support. Great passive, good A1. The A1 actually synergizes super well with the constant attacks if you've got other turtles. I think he's well worth doing. And by the way, all of these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles champions, there's 6 of them, the 4 turtles, plus Shredder and Shadowkin and April O'Neil in the Sacred Order, they are all limited. So after this event ends, which you can kind of check it for 10 weeks and 6 days, yeah? After that ends, you won't be able to get these champions again. So this is very much a limited time fusion. I think it's well worth going for. Let's take a look. So, first of all, we've got 130 fragments, but forget about it. Actually, let's use a different color. Forget about it. Let's use red. Because you're not going to win the tournaments. So really, there's 110. You obviously only need 100 fragments to summon the champion, so you can skip 10. Now, if you are willing to spend money, I really do think as well, there's probably going to be a lot of people willing to spend money if you love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. After a fragment fusion, they typically sell you, if you've got, I think it's either like 50 or 60 fragments, I think they will typically try to sell you the rest of them. Now, it's extremely expensive. It could cost you over $100 to actually get them all. But I don't know, like, it is there as an option. So if you do miss some fragments, they will try to sell you them. So yeah, either look at that as a positive or a negative. I leave that up to you. Let's take a look here. So first up, we'll look at the SHARD events. So, it's a Summon Rush event. That's a little bit unusual. Okay, we've got a Champion Chase tournament that actually starts tomorrow. Sorry, it's the tournament. It's already in game, in fact, but not active yet. So a Champion Chase tournament, which I believe is going to be 2x Sacred Shards, which is the hardest one. I'm pretty sure it's 2x Sacreds. And then the Summon Rush is just going to be a Summon Rush event. It's hard to know exactly how expensive these will be. 2x Sacreds is pretty rough. You're usually looking at like 8 to 10 Sacreds to do a 2x Sacred Shards. It's bad. Sacred Shards are really bad for it, but you can do things like summon in some, so save your voids, right? To summon in Broadmaws, it's 350 points per Broadmaw. Any fragments you've got going. I spent $50 to get some summons on the summon pool, the summon portal. We're going to be pulling for that tomorrow on the prisms. So you've got options, login champions, whatever. There are things you can do to help with the champion chase. It's sort of any source of champions. So try to capitalize on that, because 2x Sacreds is pretty rough. Like I said, I think it's 2x Sacreds, and that unfortunately sucks. So yeah, there is that. For the Summon Rush, to be safe, you probably want about 10 Sacreds worth of points, or you could have a bunch of Void Shards or Primal Shards as well to help out, anything like that. The last fusion was a lot cheaper. It was way cheaper, but I think let's be safe and prepared about 10 Sacreds worth to do this, or 30 plus voids, something like that. It's rough. It makes it tricky. It does make it tricky. I do think a decent option for Champion Chase, especially if you're worried about completing Summon Rush, would be you could do the Champion Chase with more Ancient Shards, and like I said, any permanent fusions or fragments that you've got can help out, and you could save your more premium shards for the Summon Rush. Bearing in mind, you're not going to have to get all 15 fragments here. You could skip 10. It would probably be something like 6, probably 6 or 10 Sacreds for 5 fragments for 6, and then the remaining 10 for about 10. But it could be cheaper, we can hope. And again, over here for the Champion Chase tournament, again, it's probably going to be 5 fragments, fairly cheap, and then 10 fragments additionally going to be very expensive. So you could pick up, definitely pick up the 5. And I say these are going to be one of the 2 things to skip. I think that, yeah, especially because we are very much expecting. I talked about like a leak, which may or may not be true, actually. I think the Plarium representative messaged us in the content creator chat and said that the leak stuff I showed in the gameplay for the TMNT, that some of that stuff might have changed since I think it was whenever the leaker got it. I don't know where it came from, actually. But I would certainly expect things like a Hero's Path, the Titan event, probably a Deck of Fate. I think all the things in that leak, to me, seem pretty likely. Just they might move things around a little bit, like dates or which champion fits in where. But I expect multiple Shard events to get these turtles, basically, because they're time limited. So they really have to capitalize on them within these couple of months. So trying to conserve Shards is a good idea, in my opinion, and look to skip 10 fragments in either one. Summon Rush is a bit more guaranteed, because you need the Shards. Yeah, but it depends. Do you have a lot of stuff ready for the Champion Chase? In which case, go for the Champion Chase. So I leave that up to you, but I would be looking to skip 10 fragments in one of these. Safer for sure to skip Summon Rush, because then if you, for example, you forget to do Gear Enhancement Event 2, then you go, uh-oh, I missed the 5 fragments, you can still pick up the extra fragments from Summon Rush if you need to. Though, like I mentioned as well, you can always buy them at the end with the money if you miss a few. Let's take a Gear Enhancement. We've got 3 of them. I am curious. So they've made, as of today, which is crazy. In fact, oh yeah, I used to have a bunch of free gear removal tokens. Oh, they're gone. Yeah, I've just got multi-battles now. All my free gear removal tokens are gone. Yeah, that's nuts. Gear removal is now free forever. So, like, I can just remove. Oh, hang on. Manage. I can just remove it for free. Great. Permanent free gear removal forevermore, probably, in Raid Shadow Legends. That's sick. I wonder if they will make gear enhancement more expensive. They might. Certainly in the future, they might. To balance this out. I don't know. People are always short on silver anyway. I don't think they really need to. You'd be looking at, to be safe, about 20 million silver for each one of these. Be safe. Oh, and I should also put in, this should be again, I'd say 6 to 10 sacreds for that. Just to be safe. 20 million silver to be safe. You might get away with less if you're a little bit lucky or if you've got stuff pre-rolled up, but 20 million for each gear enhancement. To do it, what you do, simply don't spend any silver outside of gear enhancement, and it really is that simple. Save every single silver you get, only ever spend them in gear enhancement. Then when you start to get a good stockpile of silver, then you can spend it. But for newer players, never ever spend it anywhere else. So that's fairly straightforward. Let's look at the easiest events, of course, which are the Classic Arena. We like to get those out of the way. Classic Arena is very easy. You just use your tokens in Classic Arena every day. And so long as you're even in Silver Classic Arena, it's pretty doable. And you get to Silver super quickly. Once you're in Gold, it should be, you can even miss a bunch of them per day, and you should still be fine. Just make sure that you're getting whatever enough fights in per day. You might have to buy a refill, worst case scenario, but it should be pretty straightforward. They're very free. And then the hardest ones, probably Dungeon Divers. These are always nasty. We'll look at the champion training and stuff as well. But Dungeon Divers, these are ones that people typically like to skip as well. These are just very intensive.
Yeah, I agree, man. I ran all the way to the end of Dungeon Diver. Got like 3/4 the way through the legendary fragments for the relic, and it timed out on me. Like, damn.
Really, the only way to do them is just grind dungeons. There's no shortcut. There's no real trick or easy way to do it. You just have to spend loads of energy running dungeons over and over again. That's sort of it. So they kind of suck. They do line up somewhat well here. So we've got Ice Golem Tournament. Lovely that this starts today. It's great. Dungeon Divers is live already. I've been doing a bit of it, progressing through the event dungeon, for instance, but Ice Golem starts today. You can totally just dive in and start Ice Golem today with Dungeon Divers, which is fantastic, and then just sort of finish off Ice Golem as you need. But that's a great way to spend your energy today and tomorrow. Just get Ice Golem done and most of Dungeon Divers 1 done. Dragon doesn't start till after Dungeon Divers 1, and then it's sort of up you can totally do it, but there's no Dungeon Divers for a couple of days, for one day, and then on Monday, Dungeon Divers 2 kicks off, so you can dive in. Now, what I would say, in fact, let me let me mark it in as Monday. Let's make that more clear. Monday would be the time to do it, and then I would try not to be doing it for Tuesday and Wednesday, because we should have over here, I think this is due to be a personal reward CVC. Now, that's obviously always subject to change. They don't always alternate them, but the last CVC was non-personal reward, I'm pretty sure. This one should be. I get quite confused at the moment with my dates and stuff because I was away in Amsterdam for a few days. Yeah, it's just when you go on holiday, you kind of lose track of things, right? I'm pretty sure we're due a personal reward CVC. And, oh, sorry, I put it in the wrong bloody days. Get rid of this. Why do I have a blurry eraser? There we go. There we go. Terrible, using the wrong brush. So this is Tuesday and Wednesday. Boink. Let's put a little arrow. There we go. Personal reward CVC. Hey, now we're good. So it's Tuesday and Wednesday. So yeah, I would do Dragon on Monday when Dungeon Diver starts, but Dragon's pretty rubbish to run during personal reward CVC. So try to get it finished before, or do it a bit during personal reward CVC is fine, but just watch out for that overlap. You're better off running like Spider 20, Spider Hard 10 or something for personal reward CVC. It's better points for CVC, and it's still really, really good better for Dungeon Divers. In fact, it's faster. So that would be sort of ideal. Bit of a gap then, nothing really happening on Wednesday or Thursday. Then we come in and we will have Fire Night. Again, it's totally fine, I would say, to do it at the start, but you'd probably be doing the champ training instead. And then it overlaps to Dungeon Divers 3, and then pretty much straight into Spider. Get Spider done, and then you sort of nice and chill to finish Spider off at your leisure over here. This would probably be Siege on Tuesday, Wednesday, which is not important. And CVC the following week. He is a fragment champion, so you can save Donatello. You don't need to summon him straight away. You could save him for the next fusion if you wanted, which would be a couple of weeks or so after this one. But yeah, there you go. Now, we still have the champion training stuff. Let's do it in, I don't know, some sort of purpley color. Yeah, that's a nice purple. Make it lighter. There we go. So, champion training. I'll be going for champion training, yeah, pretty much here. Finish Ice Golem first. It's going to be better for Dungeon Divers, but then diving into champion training. And really, I keep this going up until Dungeon Divers. And there you go. So pretty much whenever champion training goes live, once once Ice Golem is done, hop on over to champ training and get it done. Finish off Dungeon Divers 1 as well, of course. And yeah, then once Dungeon Divers 2 goes live, that's where I'd really be looking to. You'd want to be done champ training by then and get into the Dragon with Dungeon Divers 2. Then again, this personal reward CVC is a real breaker. And then you come back in for sort of round 2 of the fusion. And here, I definitely be starting hard with the champion training. And then, you know, you can just keep it going, but go pretty hard at it at the start and then sort of finish it off as you have time. So for example, if you finish Fire Night in just one day, come back and finish off champion training. But you've got a perfect day there on Thursday and even part of, Thursday, even part of Friday until Dungeon Divers 2 starts, where the champion training is ideal to do. So basically, get champ training event, try to get it done before Dungeon Divers 2, and try to get the champion training tournament done before Dungeon Divers 3. Now that's a bit trickier, it's a much shorter time frame, but
I'm gonna need to bring in Luminosity for this.
And yeah, that's sort of where you're at. Like I said, for skipping events, I would say the ones to skip, in my opinion, would be 10 fragments from Champion Chase or Summon Rush. I'd really be looking to skip one of those. Maybe they will be really easy points. I don't know. If they are really easy points, you could maybe skip the Champion Training Tournament. It is 10 fragments, which is the maximum you can skip, but that could take some stress off. So that would be sort of what I'd be leaning towards. I think the Dungeon Divers, they're intensive in terms of energy, but I think the way they've laid them out is actually quite nice. Dungeon Divers 1, you can start from day 1 and get it done. Dungeon Divers 2, going through Person Ward CVC. Dungeon Divers 3 is kind of at the end of the fusion and overlaps with Spider anyway. So it's not too bad, the Dungeon Divers, how they're laid out. They're just intensive in energy. And that's sort of how the fusion is looking. I think looks reasonable enough, actually. It doesn't look too bad. And Crocad was a very strong fusion. And they made the summon events actually quite doable. They really improved them from what they normally do. So fingers crossed they'll do the same thing here for Donatello, especially because there's going to be a lot of newer players that are really going to be excited to play the game for the first time and get Donatello. I really hope they make it cheap so that, you know, people can actually get the champions and play with them and actually enjoy them. That would be cool. Yeah, there we go. I think that's everything we have to cover. Yeah, I think that's it. Guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about this. Are you going for this fusion? Just to reiterate, this is a time-limited champion. After the event ends, you will not ever be able to get them ever again. I will say, I don't think the turtles are necessary. I think they're really fun, but they're not necessary. Like, if you don't get them, it's not the end of the world. Like, these are not must get or your account is ruined champions. Not at all. But they are really fun, and because they are so time limited, it makes it pretty worthwhile. But you can skip it if you want to. If you don't like them, if you think you won't use them, you're just not a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, then skip away. But if you like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or, you know, if you just want to grab and collect them all, or collect as many as possible, they're time limited, so that makes it worth grabbing, I think. We'll see. There we go, guys. Make sure to save your shards, be efficient, because there will be more events for more turtles coming after this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Hello everyone, Nubkex here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video I'm going to give you some teams for stage 20, 25 and 30 of the event dungeon, including some input from you, the community. And actually I will leave it open to you if you come over to my Discord channel. We have an event dungeon showcase. The Discord is linked down below. Sorry, these are old ones, but we've got a few new ones have come in since my post yesterday. I've actually updated my team since then. We've got several different things. We'll look at those in a second when we get to stage 30, but please submit some teams down there if you want to help people out and check out, and maybe you'll find some teams that fit you. Also check out the optimizer on hellhades.com. It's not updated with the event dungeon yet, but probably will be over the weekend. I don't know, whenever the tech guys get to it. So first up, stage 20. I'll be honest, I struggle with this one because it's very easy for me, so it's hard to kind of bring this down to a lower level. But you see, the key idea of my team is very simple. We just boost up, we increase attack, turn meter boost is nice as well, we have a decreased defense, we've got a weaken, and we've got damage. Now I do think block buffs as well, which we get from Ugo, who many even new players will have from a promo code, is very helpful. You could also use Sun Wukong, who's a super common, probably the most common promo code champion. You could use him to place block buffs. That's important because of course Shredder tries to steal your buffs on his A3, so if you got lots of buffs that can be pretty nice. But yeah, you can see our goal really is just to kill the enemies as quickly as possible. This run is taking a bit longer than last time because Helm Smasher didn't proc or whatever. But yeah, you can kind of smash through. There is some randomness with him getting evades. So yeah, again, this is perhaps not super helpful to you because I've got so good gear, we're just one-shotting it. Let's just go straight to stage 25. This is my favorite team because this is just, to me, super fun. And for stage 25, this is the team. We've got former, or just the most recent fusion, Crocad, the Throat Ripper. He's level 39 right now. Let's go see what level 39 Crocad can do. Yeah, level 30 now. He's got very good gear on, and he obviously, I do have the 5-star blessing for him. But here we go for this team. He's not doing too bad for level 39, let me tell you. We'll see what they're going to do. Okay, good, we got a little bit lucky. We didn't get a decreased attack on him. That's definitely going to help. And Crocad, he's just sort of spamming out some damage, which is nice. Lydia is on the team, so if they do get a revive off with Ugo, we're going to be just fine. We usually die to Shredder, but we should have the revive from her, or maybe it happened a bit wonky. We've got a Vogoth in to sort of help us and heal us up if he takes damage. Looks like he didn't actually take any damage, but if he does take damage, we can be okay. And yeah, that's sort of the idea of the team. This one's gone a little bit wonky as well, but that's all right. There's going to be some randomness. Looks like she used her revive right before Crocad died, which we don't actually want to happen, which is slightly unfortunate, but she does have an AoE revive. Ursula the Mourner. But yeah, the concept is fairly straightforward. Vogoth hopefully keeping us alive. And yeah, that's what we want to see. Crocad absolutely smacks. We'll run it back again. But I just find it funny. Level 39. He might hit level 40 here. Now he's close. But yeah, essentially we want increased attack from someone. I put in Ursula. You could, of course, just use the Arbiter. We want Packmaster, Shayak, and Krokad. This might go slightly different. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, let's see. What are they going to do? Will they do anything? Let's find out. But yeah, Krokad, he's just going to slam in loads of damage, and he's just going to murder everything, basically. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm not sure why the speed tune has gone a little bit wonky there, and it hadn't before. This time it worked fine, because Lydia blocked the revive, which brought Krokad back. Krokad will die again to this next move. He's level 39. He's not surviving anything. But what he is doing is just a ridiculously stupid amount of damage. This is Krokad. So yeah, if he did the fusion... Oh, never mind. He didn't die, and he's just going to murder him in return. So yeah, this is my favorite team, because it's ridiculous, right? It is ridiculous. Shayak is going to be forcing Shredder to attack him pretty often with his taunt. So that's great. And very replaceable team. So Ursula, you could replace with Arbiter, Duchess, Rakat, whatever you want. Someone to give Krokad increased attack, and someone to revive Krokad because he's super squishy. Vogoth is sort of there to try to keep people alive a bit. You can replace Vogoth with literally any champion you have that's going to help your team stay alive. Lydia, decrease defense and weaken. Again, you could replace her with sort of anybody else. Then we got the Shayak and Krokad combo. Shayak, of course, is bringing block buffs, which is, again, important because Shredder's going to steal some stuff. So I think this gives you a better overview of a sort of typical team and just adjust it for whatever level you're on. Kind of anywhere up to stage 25. So if you're much earlier in the game, using more basic champions. But it's sort of a key sort of thing. A few little bits so you don't die just to survive. Block buffs is really good. We actually have decreased attack from Ursula the Mourner. That's helping us stay alive. You could bring that in your keep you alive champion. Could bring a decreased attack if you want. Michelangelo brings decreased attack. He's the login champ. Everyone's going to get him. But yeah, this was just fun with Shayak and Krokad. But yeah, key idea. Block buffs, decreased attack, decreased defense, weaken, stuff to keep you alive a little bit, bring some damage, just kill stuff, and bada bing, bada boom. That's the dungeon. The boss isn't so bad. Now, when you get up to the higher ranks, it does get quite a bit tougher. So actually, there's two different variants. I haven't put together a team for this one. This one is kind of annoying, because you've obviously got, Krisk passive is annoying. Jingwan passive, really annoying in this buff removal. That's quite an annoying team. The team I'm using for stage 30 works as well. On stage 30 is also quite annoying because you've got Harima passive, which is going to reduce your ignore defense effects by 50%. Makes it very difficult to kill the enemies. And then you've got Tetsuya, who's gaining turn meter. Whenever any of your champions take a turn, this guy gets lots of turn meter, and then he can do a turn meter steal and true fear. They can't be resisted, they can't be blocked, and he hits everybody, right? With more than 50% turn meter. He hits everyone and steals all their turn meter and puts true fear. He's a real pain. So how are we going to deal with it? Maybe the Krokad team would work. I don't know. I've been using this team, and actually, sorry, I need to fix it because I did put the Carnage gear onto Krokad because it's fun. There we go. Put his gear back on. I think we're good apart. I don't think I saw other gear. So this is the team I've been using right here. Yeah, I tweaked it a little bit. I had Sifi in. I've actually switched Sifi out for Elva. So we've got Lamasu is our fastest, puts out block buffs and true fear, which is great. Then we've decreased defense and weaken from Lydia. Marius is great then. His A3 actually stuns Tetsuya, which is fantastic. We've gone a little bit wonky. This actually seems to be what's happened since I've switched Sifi in. Switched Sifi out and put Elva in, where we can potentially get a little bit unlucky right there, slightly, and Carnage will target Shuzan instead of targeting Harima. But by default, because Harima is Force Affinity, it seems like Carnage really wants to target Harima, and Carnage puts block passive skills, which makes life a hell of a lot easier. You can see the boss actually hits a lot harder. It's, significantly harder to stay alive and whatnot, but Carnage does massive damage. Carnage heals himself as well, and hopefully it will be enough to mostly stay alive, and Marius finishes him off. I'm not 100% sure if this team is 100%. Let's run it again. I'm not sure if it's 100% successful. But yeah, we come in, we debuff them. Lydia debuffs them, which triggers then their turn meter pushback from, I think, a blessing. I think they've got temporal chains. Triggers turn meter pushback, which triggers a Carnage, a Marius A1. And again, Carnage, he's spreading that block passive skills around. I think it seems to be with my new setup here that he's targeting Shuzen, and you might get unlucky and you might miss Harima, but I think you're still fine. But if he doesn't put block passive skills on Harima, it slows it down a good bit. But we do have one really strong and fairly obvious replacement. So there we go. I actually was just paying attention there. We got smacked by the boss, and we did not, when he smacked us, have decreased attack on him. We got it afterwards from a counterattack from Lammasu, but it wasn't up at the time. But yeah, look, boom. This team clearing through beautifully. Quite difficult to replace people, but generally speaking, Lammasu, nice speed aura, but we could use Elva's. You could use any speed aura. You don't even need a speed aura, it just does make it a bit easier, but it's not essential. Lammasu, AoE block buffs, and AoE decrease attack as well. She's actually quite replaceable. You could use Mighty Uko. Lots of stuff you could use instead. I think she's not actually too important. Elva can be anyone that can keep you alive. So I was using Sifi, and I said, don't need Sifi. Marius is bringing increased defense. Lydia's bringing increased speed. All the Sifi's bringing is block debuffs, which is important, and a revive. I said Elva is probably a bit better, and yeah, because Elva's slower than Lammasu, it actually just works better. Elva's slower than these other champs, which works well. Marius can be sort of replaced with other damage dealers, but you'd probably want one with a stun that can hit Tetsuya, because otherwise Tetsuya's going to smack you, and you're not going to enjoy it. So yeah, any fast damage dealer that will go before Tetsuya and stun him. Marius is perfect. He doesn't do massive boss damage, but he's really good at killing the enemies. And Carnage, now the big replacement to Carnage, who else does block passive skills and also incidentally can do pretty good damage. It's that everyone can get Carnage as well eventually. It's Romantu. I don't know if Romantu is much easier to get than Carnage, but Romantu is really good here as well. He has AoE block passive skills. So he'll block passives on the whole enemies, which is great. And then he'll just slam a bunch of single target debuffs into the boss, which is great. I think he's immune to decreased speed, but he'll do the rest of them, decreased defense, weaken, and block buffs. And he'll do some decent damage as well. So he's pretty cool. If we look at some teams that you guys submitted, so for example, I was running this before, and I found that taking Sifi out, putting in Elva, actually made it better. So there you go. We've got a cool team here, which is just Romantu to block passives, and then Siegfried one-shots everything. You need extremely good gear to do this, and there is a 3% chance that the team fails, because Romantu 3% of the time will get resisted by Harima, and then you won't one-shot them. So this is a ridiculously good 97% successful team. You can maybe just throw in a Carnage as well, and it will probably work, I don't know, 99% of the time. But hey, there we go. 100% team apparently here. Very similar. We've got Fidey though, Galathier, 6-star, still very fast Senna. Yeah, and the Marius, just Marius killing everything, basically. Cool. Once you kill Harima, it gets easier to kill. 6-second team here with the double Teox and the Romantu, Feral Dracomorph. Similar sort of stuff. 3-minute team, a slower one. There you go. We've got a stage 30 team in 5 seconds. Again, the same sort of concept. Block passives, buff and debuff and damage boost to Siegfried. Again, you need crazy gear for that, but it is super cool. You can do the same thing with Wukong. So here you go. Again, we've got damage boost from Ashnar. We've got, and weaken, because we're ignoring 100% defense with Wukong. With and same with Siegfried. They have 50% base, 35% from Merciless set, and then you give them a Cat's Gaze, or I guess Covetous Passion, either of those relics, or 100% consistent ignore defense. You don't need decreased defense. So block passives from Romantu, weaken from Ashnar, big damage boost from Ashnar, big damage boost from Gerbtuk, big damage boost from Blaked, and increased attack, and Wukong one-shots everything. And yeah, it looks like, oh, we've got one more. Again, same sort of thing. Okay, so all of you guys with the crazy one-shot team. I'm jealous of all you with the Ashnars. My gosh, I like Ashnar a lot. I wouldn't mind getting him, but there you go. So yeah, bunch of one-shot teams, guys. Post in my Discord if you have some other
Sure, coming at you today, Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video. I am on the mini account. It's been a while since we dusted this bad boy off, but today I want to go through a guide on gearing. Gearing in Raid Shadow Legends. Let's be real, guys. Gearing can be, especially for new players out there, but this video is intended hopefully for new players, for intermediate players, kind of mid-game, and maybe verging a little bit into the end game as well. Some best tips, practices, and trends in the game towards the end of this video. But to get to the end, we need a strong foundation of knowledge about gearing that can be kind of daunting, kind of overwhelming. I can't imagine being a brand new player in Raid Shadow Legends nowadays. There's the Forge, there's a billion different gear sets here, there's a lot of different stats. I mean, new players in this game, even go to this little menu over here. There's like a billion different keys.
This complicates things a bit.
All of which you can get different gear, most of which you can get different gear or resources to upgrade your gear and Ascension, and there's a lot. I feel for you guys who are brand new to the game, and today I hope that we can kind of provide a compass as to, you know, where you should be kind of focusing, what matters the most, not to overwhelm everybody out there in terms of gearing here in 2024 and beyond, almost 2025 here at the time of this recording, because it's been a long time. So I hope to arm you guys with the info that you need to just not mess up is a strong word. I don't think you can really mess anything up beyond repair, which is the good news for those of you who are already started in the game. But just talk about the fundamentals and, you know, kind of some best practices along the way so you guys don't have to be overwhelmed and stressed out and confused. And sometimes it can just make new players, I see you in the comments, it kind of just make new players quit because just like, dude, this is too much. This is too much for a game. So the good news is it's not that complicated. Once you actually, you know, play for a few months, you'll start to pick up on things in Raid Shadow Legends, not just in artifacts and accessories and gearing, but really in general. My biggest tip is just take the time. I know it can be annoying.
Penny, you've got Cheetos in your hair.
Oh, thanks.
You have to do something about Penny. She is interfering with my sleep. She's interfering with my work.
Why should I do something? You're the one who introduced her to online gaming.
But yes, but you're the one who said hello to her when she moved in.
I feel like as a new player to games, you're tempted to kind of just go through the motions and not really pay attention and hope that finally you'll just click. Things will, like, light bulb will go off in your head. I would encourage you guys to actually read. That pertains to masteries. It pertains to Hydra heads. Read what they do, bosses. Just take one moment. Even champions, read what they do. Even if you don't really understand, just read what they do, and eventually things will click a lot faster. But anyway, let's go to artifacts. As I said, I'm on the mini account. I'm probably going to switch accounts halfway through this video, but I really want to talk about gearing. So up top here, these are the artifacts, and these three are the accessories. So artifacts, we have the top row. The top row for me are usually the lowest priority in terms of fully upgrading to level 16. Now, 4 or 5 years ago when Raid came out, artifacts could go up to level 16. Today, they can still go up to level 16 max. There's an escalating cost as you upgrade your artifact, your accessories. So the higher you go in level, the more it's going to cost you. The less your chances are going to be to fully upgrade an artifact or an accessory. So keep that in mind. Because of that, you'll see I have a level 12 weapon on Visix the Unbowed. So I prioritize maxing out or getting to level 16. You can start by going to level 12 in the early game, but I start with the gauntlets, the chest, and the boots, right? So let's start with these three artifacts. These are going to be three of your most important artifacts to understand. The top artifacts, see this attack 143, the HP 2800, the defense 228. It doesn't matter which champion or which gear that I'm looking at here. It's going to be the same main stats. These are called the main stats: attack, HP, defense. That's because on the weapon, on the helmet and the shield, that's the only stat they can have for a main stat. So it's going to be flat stats, meaning there's no percentage there. Whereas we look at the chest piece, of course, there it is, a percentage. Generally speaking, percentage stats scale a lot better, right? Because all of our stats are based on the base stats of any given champion. So 50% HP is going to give a 50% HP boost based on obviously the base HP of that champion. So we're getting significant amounts of HP here, and you can see the total stats there. Now, when you add a buff to a champion, so an increased defense buff, that number is not going to be based on the base stat, right? So a good way to think of this is when we're in battle in Raid Shadow Legends and I receive an increased speed buff, that number is going to be based on all of my stats after my artifacts and accessories. Does that make sense? So increase speed by 30%. If I had a 97 base speed, it's not going to be based on that number 97. It's going to be based on the number after all of our artifacts and accessories are factored in. So that's why artifacts and accessories, they matter a lot, right? They matter a ton because those buffs will just make them even more powerful, whatever your total stats end up being on a champion. So back to our middle row here, so to speak, our gauntlets. I want to talk about what's special about each of these artifact spots for you guys. It will be easy to understand what is special or unique about them. So on the gauntlets, it's the only artifact or accessory slot, with the exception of amulet we'll talk about later, but the only artifact slot that we can get crit damage and crit rate. For damage dealers in Raid Shadow Legends, unless they have a built-in ability that gives them an extra crit rate or something like that, we want all raw damage dealers, meaning a champion that hits a target on their champion or a boss. Damage dealers, we want them to have 100% crit rate, okay? You can go to hellhades.com. They have a guide on every champion in the game, and you can see their recommendations for stat priorities. Usually on their nukers, their damage dealers, and it's usually fairly intuitive on damage dealers, we're gonna have 100% crit rate. That's gonna be the first priority. Getting these champions, even the starting champions, your Kales, your Alhains, your Galax, or your Aethels, we wanna get them to 100% crit rate, because in this game, we want our damage dealers to be landing a critical hit every single time if we can. So you can get that crit rate or crit damage as a main stat, we talked about main stats, on our gauntlets. So this is going to be a useful piece of artifact, for your damage dealers. Now, non-damage dealers, we have an Ultimate Death Knight here. We can run him in HP percentage or defense percentage, right? We can just build survivability on our healers, our revivers, anybody who's not out there doing damage for the most part. Now, as we scale into the mid game and the end game, then we can start thinking a little bit outside the box. Maybe we can have one of our debuffers or even one of our support champions. Maybe we can get a little bit of extra damage out of them by putting crit rate or crit damage on their gauntlets as well. But that's something you don't have to worry about in the early game. Just save that crit rate and that crit damage for your damage dealers. So your chest piece, well, it's the only artifact where we can get main stat resistance, as we see. It is a flat stat, but it's still useful, albeit very niche, and accuracy. So we can get a main stat accuracy, a main stat resistance. But for the early game of Raid Shadow Legends, for the most part, with some exceptions, like soloing, content with Ultimate Death Knight where you need high resist, for the most part, you're going to be going with usually HP percentage or defense percentage on your tanks, your revivers, your support champions, your healers, or attack percentage on your attack-based damage dealers. Now, in Raid Shadow Legends, there's 3 types of damage dealers.
Where are the others?
There's actually some additions, but we'll stick to the major ones, right? Attack damage dealers, which is the majority of nukers. Defense-based damage dealers, usually they're like kind of tanky champions that can actually dish out some damage too, scales off of defense. That's nice because you're building survivability in the defense and damage. You don't have to worry about attack. I see sometimes new players build defensive or HP damage dealers with attack. Attack does absolutely nothing for a champion that doesn't do damage based on attack. How do we tell how they do damage, Ash? Well, we just look at any of their skills. If we go from artifacts to the skills, we go here, damage based on defense. So now we know, right? Every champion that deals damage, every ability is going to have that. So you're going to easily know what stat you need to prioritize if you care about damage. So the chest piece, we can get flat stat accuracy, flat stat resistance, and then we can get HP, defense, or attack percentage. Usually we're going to be going with one of those 3 percentage stats. Flat stats, like we talked about over here with the helmet, for example, a flat stat HP, you can still get that gear. Doesn't mean it's good though.
The helmet off Rudolph's head and then eventually swings it and hits him.
Most of the time you can just sell all of your flat stat gear. It just doesn't do very well, especially as you progress inside the game, okay? On the boots, these are easy. Speed is king in Raid Shadow Legends. Speed on the boots should be basically your go-to for every champion on your account in the early game, right? While you're progressing. Now, there's some caveats to that. For example, campaign farming. when you're farming in campaign, and you'll know that a few months into the game or even before that, sometimes you can get away with just being faster than the enemy, right? So that only requires in campaign in like 12.3, which is the usual place that people XP farm inside campaign. You just need to be faster than Lord Shazar, who's the fastest opponent that you go after. So let's just see. I don't think I have him on this account. Let's just see what his speed is. I think it's like 104. Ooh, I got this off. Ooh, look at this offer. Pretty juicy, because I don't spend on this account.
You understand perfectly what I mean.
For example, the enemies that you go against in this game, they're usually pretty slow. You're gonna go first most of the time in PvE, right? So his speed is 101. So for campaign farming, you only need to be faster than the fastest opponent that you're going against. So, you know, you can usually get by with attack percentage, maybe on the boots. That might be the first time on your account where you experiment with something other than just flat stat speed on your boots. Flat stat speed is so important, guys. I could speak for ages about how important it is, but you really don't want to be going with percentage stats until you progress, so you really understand the decision that you're making, sacrificing that much speed. Now there's ascension stats too, which is basically a way to upgrade and ascend and get an additional stat, right? An additional stat, which, you know, we'll talk about in a future video. But for all intents and purposes, speed on the boots, right? It might seem like, hey, but I just want to do more damage, Ash. I just want to kill everybody. But you're eventually going to encounter bosses and clan boss and harder mobs that you just can't kill in one turn. So it's very important to go first and then to go fast after that too, to get back around to your next turn before the enemy has too many turns. And in order to execute that, we need speed. And the only artifact or accessory, the only area that we can get speed is intuitively on our boots, right? So really, really important to go speed on your boots. I hope I've drummed that point home to you guys.
Pretty cool, huh? Now I'm an official fry cook.
All right, let's talk about accessories for a moment. We have the ring that can only be attack, HP, or defense. Flat stat. They're very simple rings. You generally want to kind of treat it like you do your chest, right? If you went HP on your chest, you're probably going to want to go HP, maybe defense on the ring for survivability. If you're building a nuker, and by the way, on nukers, don't be afraid to go defense on the ring. Don't be afraid to go HP, survivability, because a nuker is no good to you if they're dead. So first priority on every damage dealer is just make sure they stay alive, right? On the amulet, it can be flat stats, or it can be crit damage. Remember when I was talking about the gauntlets, I said it can be crit rate, crit damage. It could also be HP percentage, defense percentage, etc. Well, the amulet can also be crit damage. This is going to be one of your best sources of crit damage in the game. In the early game, it's often difficult to get crit damage as a main stat on your gauntlets, and then find enough crit rate in the substats, like here, for example, to still get to 100%. So in the early game, oftentimes, you'll be going, even with your damage dealers, crit rate on the gauntlets, crit damage on the amulet, okay? Of course, if you can, or if you spend in the game a little bit and get your hand on some good artifacts, you can absolutely graduate, or over time you can graduate to getting crit damage as a main stat, 80% on your gauntlets at 6 stars maxed, and then you can get another 40%, and then ascension stats on top of that, you can really rack up the crit damage. In these scenarios, that's where it comes to flat stats, which we'll talk about in a moment. Let's talk about the banner. Accuracy, you can see it right here. Accuracy is going to be one of the most important stats in the game next to speed, right? Talked about speed, how important it is. Accuracy. Anytime we're doing anything to the enemy other than a basic attack, we need accuracy to do it. That means landing a debuff, decrease defense, weaken, decrease speed, hero reduction, any debuff in the game. But also it means manipulating their turn meter. There's a lot of champions that do something where Vizix doesn't have it. Actually, each hit has, she does have it, my bad. Each hit has a 100% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 15%. Well, she's not placing a debuff there. However, she is manipulating the opponent. She's doing something other than just damage. This is going to require accuracy. The only caveat or exception is if the ability says, this skill does not require accuracy, which is a special ability that some champions have. Most of them don't. That means accuracy is going to be
She does put out bombs. Apothecary. Oh, Magister. I always think he's Apothecary coming out. We're not even going to get an epic. The goon of the fortress. For a rare, I've always liked her design. I don't remember what she does. Attacks all enemies, heals this champion equal to the damage inflicted. Puts a big boy poison on all enemies for 2 turns, and a 50% chance to stun. It's actually not that bad of a kit for a rare. Another revolver. Let's do our voids. When I first started this account, he was one of my main damage dealers. His A3 is a triple hitter that puts a decreased defense out. His A2 is an AoE that puts decreased accuracy. Both are big versions. And then his A1 puts a small version of the decreased speed. But he hits really hard for a rare. I would call him like epic tier. Not really a fan of Panthera other than the triple hitter A1. And turn meter control, you can use her in Fire Knight pretty good. Outside of that, not really in use. Now there's no use for this champion. I do believe he puts out a burn if there's... No, and he don't. He puts out a poison. Yeah, there's no use case for him. Now, she's a good one. She does a reset skill. Yeah. Removes all debuffs from a target, heals about 40% of their max HP, and if it's not this champion, decreases the cooldown of all of that target skills by 2 turns. Or a 3-turn cooldown. So she can be used in some interesting teams. And she brings ally protection and a small weaken. Her A1 is an AoE that puts the big version decreased speed out, so... Yeah, and whenever she's healed, she heals each ally by 20% of that heal as well. So she's actually a pretty good champion. What's she rated? Yeah, I agree with that. White Dried, yeah. Making our way to the sacred shards. Pulling shards, and I'm home now. Metal Shaper. You can farm him. He puts out a shield. Hey, we got a legendary. One that we don't have on this account, too. Burndig. If I'm not mistaken, he has a fucking nuke of an AoE. What's he do? Attacks one enemy, grants an extra turn, decreases the cooldown, a stasis strike by 2 turns if this attack kills an enemy. Stasis strike is the A3, attacks one enemy, fully depletes target's turn meter. Will also attack all enemies if the first attack is critical. This AoE attack has a 100% chance when booked to put in a 25% weaken out for 2 turns. Will also put an HP burn for 2 turns after the attack on enemies whose turn meter are below 30%. Yeah, that's a really good skill and it hits hard. I've actually been nuked by him in the arena more than once with that skill. And then his A2 is an AoE that puts decreased defense and decreased accuracy out for 2 turns. Passive fills the champion's turn meter by 10% every time they are hit, occurs once per hit. Also fills the champion's turn meter by 20% whenever an ally dies, with a 35% ally attack in arena battle sword. Yeah, not a bad champion. Definitely going to be building him up. I'm excited for that one. Then Misery Cord. See. Caden. He's alright. He has a, was it, revive? Yeah. Revives 2 random allies with half health and a 60% increased defense for 1 turn. He brings an AoE with a 50% decreased attack for 2 turns. And he can put out a provoke. It's only a 30% chance on the A1, but it's there. And I like his helmet. Thea, I don't have a use case for her. She has decent ratings. Triple hitter with freeze, AoE. Yeah, like, she's just nothing special to me. I'm not sure how she gets as high a rating as she has. I guess it's because of her body. Wuji. She can actually hit really hard. She puts a bailing counterattack on herself. She can put out block buffs, but it's only a 75% chance when booked. And she puts out a big version of Weaken. And her counterattacks turn her A1 into an AoE, which hits pretty hard, to be honest. She is squishy, though, one of the lowest HPs in the game. Alika, another one of the harder hitting epics in the game. She has the A3 AoE that has a 100% chance of increasing the cooldown of everybody by 2 turns. Her A2 ignores half of their defense if their HP is higher than hers, so you want to build her low HP, high defense, high attack. And then her A1 has a 30% chance of placing an extra hit, and that extra hit's always critical, and it books up to 50%. Legendary. Who's this? Strategos Island. I'm not sure what he does. Got good ratings, though. Attacks one enemy twice. Each hit has a 50% when booked to place in a provoke, so almost a guaranteed provoke. And when counterattacking, it increases to 50, so would that be 65? So if he's counterattacking, he's always going to provoke. And when he's just normal attacking, it's a pretty high chance. He has an AoE before attacking, has a 75% chance of decreasing the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn. Also has a 100% chance of placing 30% decreased speed for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. And then finally, place a 50% ally protection on all allies except this champion for 2 turns, and places a 60% increased defense on all allies for 2 turns, puts a counter attack on this champion for 2 turns, then places a shield on this champion for 2 turns, and the value of the shield is proportional to the champion's defense. If I'm not mistaken, it's a huge shield too. Whenever this champion is attacked, heals himself by 1% for every 500 defense the champion has, so say you get him up to 5k defense, that would be 10% of his HP every single time he's attacked. And it heals all other allies under ally protection buffs by 30% of the skill's initial heal. So he can definitely keep your team alive. And if you can't deal more than 10% of his max HP in one go, you're pretty much not going to kill him. Yeah, he's a good champion. I'm definitely glad to get him too. So far we've got 2 really good legendaries. We got 4 more sacreds. The odds are not with us, but let's see if we can pull another legendary out of it. Shaodow. They've buffed her and she still ain't worth a damn. She does bring a triple hitter with a weaken though, and she can place block buffs. And her, when ascended, removes all increased defenses from all enemies and attacks all enemies, and decreases the cooldown of Laybear by 1 turn per enemy killed bot. And it does hit decent, but she's really squishy and just not that good in my opinion. The remove increased defense just isn't really enough to write home about. This is a champion I wish was better. He's such a cool design, but he's just not got a kit. It's an interesting kit, but it's in practice not that good of a kit. Double hitter puts out a leech. His A2 is an AoE that can put out Hex, which is useful. And then he has an AoE that increases the duration of all enemy debuffs for 1 turn. And if they're under a Hex, it also has an 80% chance of putting one of their skills on cooldown. So, like, if you get lucky, he can do some cool things, but it's just not guaranteed, so it's not super consistent. And then passively, 10% chance of stealing the heal each time an enemy under a Hex is about to be healed. The amount healed will be the same as it would have been to the initial target, except if the heal is based on target MP, instead it will scale off of Vildrax's max HP. So, I guess you could do worse, but it's just not. Fucking Relic Keeper. You do not want to see that coming out of a Sacred. Last one. And an Epic. But it's a Geomancer. Never have too many of those. He's like a staple on every boss run ever in Raid. How far up the tree did that get us, I wonder? Oh, we did have an Ancient to pull out of that. Damn, we could have done our 10 pull. Oh well, let's go ahead and see what it was. That's our 3rd or 4th Misery Chord in this, like, little pull alone. That's crazy. Oh, we got all the fragments out of that. Sweet. It'd be hard to do, but if we pull a bunch of mystery shards, we could get 10, at least 5 extra fragments, but we could get some of the mythical relic fragments. I don't know if that'd be worth doing it or not. It'd take a lot of time. Not anything I'm going to do on stream, but... I think we're going to save up on the soul stones. Let's make a few relics real quick. Trash. What's that one? I haven't seen it. Wearer will ignore 2% of target's defense for each poison on the target placed by that wearer. Huh. I wonder if that or what we have on Calvalax, that other poison related one, would be better. Probably the other one. Yeah, this is the one I was talking about. Wearer's poison deal debuffs deal bonus damage equal to half of the wearer's attack. That's such a good relic. Lame. Pretty lame unless you're running a void, then, you know, just because it's rarer, you might get 5% less damage, but either way, it's nothing crazy. When attacked, wearer has a 10% chance of increasing their defense by 10% till the end of their next turn. It depends on what it books out to. If it books up to like 30-40% more defense until the turn ends, that could be good at keeping you alive. Lame. Okay. Nothing worth writing home about on the relics. We pulled Shaodow on my free-to-play the other day, along with Astralon, but I want to see what he can do. be a good champion. I've never got to really play around with the mini. He does seem like he's going to put out some decent damage, though. I hate that counterattack, or not counterattack. I love Siege, not Siege Hulk, Skull Crusher as a champion. He just makes it really annoying to fight, like in faction wars or any other like PvE stages. Want debuffs out in case one of them bomb dudes decides to throw out. Okay. I don't know if we'll be able to pull off the boss or not, but we'll try it out. Got lucky on that one. Got any better speed boots? Yeah, I think we want to swap these earpieces out. Oh, he is a defense. Damn it, I thought he was HP. What do you think? It's 1,000 HP worth 74 defense. Now that's a fair. Yeah, we can swap that out. Since gear removal's free, we can always mule this back around. Let's see. It might not work, but we'll try.